I must be around 35 years old. I live in a small village in Sindh called Budagath. My livelihood has always been tied to the fields. My father was also a farmer. He did not just leave me land, but also taught me patience, hard work, and love for the soil. The land of Sindh is fertile, but water has always been scarce. We farmers run after water the way a lover runs after his beloved. The canal water comes only once or twice a week, that too at night. So staying awake has become part of our destiny. I own 2 acres of land where I grow cotton and wheat. I burn under the sun all day, and at night I wait for the water. My wife Zahida is a very simple woman. We have 2 children. A boy, Ali, who studies at the madrasa, and a little girl, Noshin, who always comes with me to play in the fields. There is no big change in our lives. The same morning sun. The same evening fatigue. The same waiting at night. But this simple life gives us peace. In the middle of the field stands an old peepal tree. My grandfather used to say that no one should sit under that tree, especially at night. I would laugh and think the elders only said such things to scare us. But one night, when I went to water the fields, something happened that took away all my laughter. In my village Budagath, life is like a simple poem. There is no rush of time here. No noise. No restless system like the city. When the sun rises, every tree, every leaf, every roof seems alive in its light. And when evening comes, the whole village sinks into a silent sleep, as if all its tiredness has been laid into the lap of the night. I wake up before far every morning. First, I listen to the call of prayer. Then I perform ablution and offer namaz. This is the time I love the most. There is no noise. No one is awake. Only the clucking of hens, and sometimes the creaking sound of a donkey cart from far away. After prayer, Zahida makes tea for me. Sometimes Zahida serves tea with fresh butter and cornbread. Ali picks up his school bag and leaves for the madrasa, while little Noshin stands at the door holding my slippers. She knows I will be heading to the fields, and she will come along with me. My land is close to my heart. Going there feels like meeting my own children. I raise every crop as if I am raising a child. I water them, feed them fertilizer, and even talk to them. People often laugh when they see me talking to the crops. But I tell them, the crops do listen, and they do respond. It's just that you don't know how to hear them. Near my fields, there is a small tube well that my grandfather had dug with his own hands. He often told us a story. When the tube well was being dug, before the water came out, a strange scream was heard. As if something deep in the earth was in pain. Since then, the villagers say that place is special. But I always laugh it off and move on. Yet in my grandfather's eyes, that story always looked true. Every Friday, going to the village market is part of my routine. There are just a few shops. One sells fritters, another sells cloth, and another is a blacksmith who repairs broken tools, light plows, and tractor cages. The elders of the village sit there and repeat old tales. Sometimes about captivity. Sometimes about rain. And sometimes about a lost love. By evening, I return from the fields. Zahida has already filled water from the well. The children, covered in mud, are busy playing. And I, tired yet peaceful, sit in the courtyard with a cup of tea. But peace does not last forever. Not every day is the same. Some nights come that shake the heart until daylight. And one such night was waiting for me. A night that would change all my thoughts, all my peace, and everything I believed in. At first, it looked like any other night. But something felt different. I usually never paid attention to such feelings. But that night, my heart was restless for no reason. Zahida even said to me, "Tonight, your face looks." After dinner, Zahida said, "You should rest. The water will come late tonight." I nodded and lay down on the charpai in the courtyard. But sleep was nowhere near my eyes. Usually, cool air blows from the fields at night. The peepal tree rustles with its leaves. Frogs croak. Sometimes a dog barks from far away. But this night was different. There was a strange silence, as if everything had stopped. Around 11 o'clock, I finally left for the fields. In one hand I carried a lantern, and on my shoulder a water pot. The moon was in the sky, but its light felt weak and pale. On the ground, that moonlight made the emptiness feel even deeper, as if every shadow was whispering something. On the way, I felt as though I was not alone. Once or twice, I turned back quickly. Nothing. Only the sound of my own footsteps. Yet I could sense another set of steps following along. Like a shadow. But every time I turned, it vanished. I calmed myself. It's just the night. Lack of sleep. Nothing else. I quickened my pace. As I neared the fields, I could see the old peepal tree in the distance. Under that tree, there is always darkness. As if the light itself is afraid to stop there. My grandfather's words echoed in my mind. But I brushed them aside. I opened the water valve, started the motor, and water began flowing into the fields. I sat down nearby and, after a while, turned off the lantern to save oil. The darkness grew heavy, and my eyes adjusted to it. The silence was so deep, it felt heavier than screams. And then, suddenly, I thought I saw movement under the peepal tree. At first, I assumed it was a goat or some animal. But no. Whatever it was, stood upright. I rubbed my eyes and looked carefully. For a moment, there was nothing. But then it moved again. A figure. Shaped like a human. Yet so black that it stood out even in the darkness. The air around it seemed frozen. My heartbeat quickened. I lit the lantern, but the figure was gone. No sound. No footsteps. No trace on the ground. I switched off the motor and looked around with wary eyes. All around me was silence. But now that silence carried a weight. As if the very air wanted to scream. Then I heard a voice. From right behind me. Soft, slow, calling my name. Shakir. I froze. The sound seemed to dissolve into the air, yet it was clear. I turned around. No one was there. But on the ground, alongside my shadow, was another shadow. It stood behind me. Not moving. Not speaking. Just standing. The earth itself felt frozen. Even though my lantern's light fell on it, the face remained hidden. As if the light was being swallowed before it could reach. My body felt drained of life. My hands shook. The lantern trembled, its light flickering. But the shadow stood perfectly still. And then, suddenly, it stepped forward. The ground let out a sigh. Yes, I swear it felt like the soil groaned beneath its weight. Shakir, the voice again. This time closer. Colder. Heavier. I stumbled back, trying to run. But my feet sank into the mud. The earth itself was holding me. As if it wanted me to see. To bear witness. To understand something hidden for years. The shadow turned toward the peepal tree. Slowly, it began to merge with the trunk. I saw it with my own eyes. It melted into the tree, as if the tree itself was breathing it in. As if its belly swelled to take it. I tried to scream. But my voice died in my throat. The lantern slipped from my hand and shattered. Darkness swallowed everything. But this was no ordinary night's darkness. It was heavier. Deeper. Terrifying. Moments passed. Or maybe hours. I don't know. I just sat there on the ground, gasping for air. Sweat drenched me as if it were rain. And then, without warning, the motor in the field started on its own. Water gushed out onto the land. But this time the water was strange. Thick. Black. With a stench. And from within it came sounds. As if someone beneath the surface was groaning. Crying out. This land, we claimed it, with blood. Those words echoed in my ears.
The words echoed, and without realizing, I stood up. That was when my grandfather's words came back to me. He had once told me, before the tube well was dug, a scream was heard. Was that scream a life being lost? Was the water I had been drawing all these years, not just water? My feet moved on their own toward the place where the water gushed out. I bent over the edge to look. And what I saw shattered my world. Inside the water was a face. A human face. Eyes wide open, staring at me, pleading for help. Then another face. And another. As if countless souls were trapped in that water. As if the earth had swallowed them whole. I screamed, collapsed to the ground, and ran back toward the village. When Zahida opened the door and saw me, she shrieked. My clothes were drenched in mud, my eyes bloodshot, my lips cracked. I could not explain anything. I only managed to whisper, "That is not water. It is alive." The next day, on Zahida's insistence, the village cleric and a few elders gathered. They recited the Quran at the site. They even tried to cut down the peepal tree. But whoever struck it with an axe found their hands trembling, their strength drained, forcing them to step back. Even today, crops grow on that land. The water still flows. But I never returned there. I sold the land long ago. Still, the dreams haunt me. Faces in the shadows. Voices in the dark. This land, we claimed it, with blood. That is the story I lived through. And one I will never forget until my last breath. If you ever come across a peepal tree standing alone on the edge of a sinned village, casting a shadow darker than the night itself, do not linger. Some shadows do not come from darkness. They come from the past. And the past is never truly buried.